These seemingly polite habits of well-intentioned cruise guests might not be getting the results you were hoping for. In fact, these polite things that people often do on cruises can make crew feel uncomfortable and even get them fired. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, when you enter a cruise ship, in some ways it is like entering a different world. And some of the polite things that might be acceptable or even encouraged in other environments, well, just aren't very helpful on a cruise. Now, I'm going to get right into it, but I did want to warn you, there is one thing that is a little bit controversial. Some people are going to agree, some people are not going to agree. And there is one of these things that is on this list that I've actually done repeatedly on several cruises. And I think it may have backfired on me on a recent cruise. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number one, clearing your plates. Now, in particular at the buffet or at any eating area that's pretty much like self-serve, if you were at a mall, if you were at a buffet on land, you normally would clear your own plate. However, this is not the case when you're on a cruise. Even if you're on the Lido deck, if you've had a burger or something, what people usually do is just place their plate and even their cup just underneath their chair or on a table nearby. And likewise, if you're at the buffet, yes, you actually just leave your plate there. Now, while that might seem impolite, like why aren't you clearing up your dishes? And a lot of times first-time cruisers tell me that this actually surprises them. But there is a reason. Now, one of the reasons is, of course, because this is the crew's job, but that's not really the biggest reason. The reason is because the crew is actually very intentional when they are putting away or clearing the waste, and they're separating it. So they're separating the food waste from the paper waste, and there really is quite a procedure for this on a cruise. Leaving room service trays in the cabin to make it easier. Now, a lot of people, including me, do not really love the idea of going down hallways and seeing room service trays or cups and plates out in the hallway. And I often think about, if people are walking by, that maybe that's not very polite. However, on many cruise ships, this is actually the procedure that is done. And when you think about it, if you wait for the room attendant to actually pick up those items by the next day, well, it does leave an extra job for the room attendant. Perhaps it smells a little bit. So there are a whole bunch of reasons not to do this. But when you place it in the hallway, there's actually one crew member that can go down the hallway and can clear that up. And it actually is less work for the crew. Bringing homemade food for the crew. Now, this could seem like a really nice thing to do, to get on a cruise ship and to bring your cabin attendant or maybe some of the waiters, well, something homemade that you made at home. But you're not actually allowed to bring homemade food on a cruise, and in particular, you're not allowed to give it to the crew. Now, some cruise lines have a specific rule about this. For instance, Carnival has talked about this before, and crew members can get sick from homemade food, so that is the main reason. Now, of course, if you do want to bring the crew something like a nice treat, like some chocolates, or some people say they like to bring crew members some chips. People say that crew members like Doritos. I'm not really sure if that's true, but if you do want to bring any of those things and you know crew members are going to like some of these specific things, you could bring them, but make sure that they are prepackaged snacks. Giving verbal praise. Now, of course, it is really nice to say thank you, or you did such a great job, or even letting a supervisor know if a crew member has done an amazing job. But even better than giving verbal praise only is filling out the survey and letting corporate know that that crew member has gone above and beyond, or that they're just fabulous at their job. Keeping your complaints to yourself. Now, while that might seem like a nice thing to do, who wants to complain when they're on a cruise? If you have genuine things that are not working or that you're not happy with in terms of the service, keeping it to yourself, or worse yet, most people don't really keep it to themselves. They go on social media and they share it, or they simply share it in a survey later on, which of course is not the time that they want that feedback. Instead, what they really want is that you let them know how they can find a solution when on board. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, if not even higher, they can. Controversial pre-tipping. Now, I say this one Because there are some people who swear by this and other people who say, no, this is like a bribe. Now, what I mean is people who go into their cruise cabin, they meet their cabin attendant, they give them something like, for instance, a $20 bill, and they say something like, there's more where that came from. Now, for some people, they say, this is just a way to ensure good service throughout my cruise, and it really works. And there's other people who say, you know what, this is like as if you're bribing them and can almost be seen as an insult. Now, I will tell you my school of thought on this. I don't personally do this. I think that the crew do a great job. We've always had really good service. Sometimes we've even had amazing service. And I tip at the end of my cruise. I've never found this to make a difference. Now, this could be the Canadian in me. It just doesn't completely sit right with me, but I'm not saying that I am correct on this. So please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Cleaning your own cabin. Now, some guests might think this is great. I'm just going to clean up myself in the cabin so I don't even leave the crew a job to do. Well, first of all, if they didn't have a job to do, they wouldn't have a job. So don't bother doing that. And they are going to have to clean your cabin, whether you clean it or not. However, what you can do is tidy up. So of course, tidy up your papers, throw your trash in the garbage. That is actually helpful. Chatting with a crew member because they seem lonely. Now, it is great to be friendly with crew members, but know where that line ends. After all, they are working. And oftentimes, if they seem like they're doing nothing for just a few minutes, they may finally have a few quiet moments during their day. And something to watch as well is, even if you have a waiter or somebody in the buffet or even your cabin attendant, it is really nice to talk with them, to even ask them a little bit about their home, especially if they are really giving in that conversation. But be careful about monopolizing their time. Not only can they maybe not want to say anything because they don't want to be impolite, but they may have a supervisor that is relying on them to get a certain amount of work done. So you don't really want them to get in trouble. And you don't want even like some of their coworkers to be looking at them and think, you're leaving me more work because you are still chatting. Flirting and being overly friendly, or even just using words of endearment that maybe in the past seemed like they were really nice, but right now it could be seen as sometimes even like crossing a little bit of a line. What I mean is, and this is not even just on cruises, but calling people darling and sweetie. I mean, there are times that this is still nice, but if it comes with any hands on a person, I would say this is a definite no, but maybe just draw back a little bit with some of the friendliness, because crew can actually get in trouble for fraternizing with guests. Now, by the way, there is one thing that I have on this list that is something that people maybe should not do, and I have actually done it over the years. I now can see why it's perhaps not a good idea. I'm going to save that at the end, so if you don't want to hear that personal story, just skip that. But it did happen recently, and I do think it's pretty funny. Helping with the safety equipment or tenders. Now, I think some well-meaning passengers apparently try to do this. They try to help with the tender operations and other things. And no, the crew members have specific safety procedures, ways they need to do things, and even during that whole procedure, it is really best to stay out of it. Handing crew members your trash. Now, even though I did say that when it comes to your plates, when you're eating at the buffet or elsewhere, that you should leave them there, what you should not do is actually hand your garbage or your trash over to crew members. There are some garbages, oftentimes they are in the bathrooms, and in particular, what I am talking about is handing dirty Kleenexes to like bartenders. No, they don't want your bodily fluids. And handing dirty diapers over to crew members, also a no. Making conversation with crew members if you see them in a cruise port of call. Now, something to remember is crew members don't even get a day off, at least most of the crew members on a cruise ship. So when they are in a cruise port of call, this is actually during their break. They can sleep or do something on the ship for themselves in their leisure time, or they can go off in a cruise port of call. And this is really like their break time away from work. So what they don't want to do is actually speak to a passenger from the cruise ship who might be talking about the cruise, maybe things that are happening there. Now, of course, saying a nice hello is a nice thing, just to greet them. But to make conversation during that time, respect their time away from their job, and talk to them later when you see them on the ship. Publicizing any of your special requests. Now, if you've asked crew members for something a little bit special and they came through, don't let other people on the cruise ship know, because what happens is they actually will get a lot of those special requests that didn't come directly from those passengers. They do not want that to happen. It just makes extra work. Asking crew members if you can go to their crew parties. Now, most of the time, crew parties are really going to happen in an area that's inaccessible to cruise passengers, and cruise passengers should never go enter into those areas. We are not allowed to do that, and honestly, crew members can get into trouble. But at the same time, those crew parties are really for crew to unwind, and they have their own life on the cruise ship with other crew members outside of the cruise passengers. Okay, now for something cruise passengers shouldn't do that I have been doing in some ways for years. And how it started was we were on, I think it was Norwegian Breakaway. We were at Dueling Pianos, and one of the musicians said, "Oh Lord, I wish I had a drink." And then I ended up buying a drink for that musician. The waiter went and handed it over to her, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I have a guardian angel." After that, other people started to buy them drinks. And by the way, they're only able to drink it once their set is over. However, since then, I've just realized that this can sometimes be a little bit fun, especially during a request hour. And I have done this. In any case, on a recent cruise, I offered to buy the piano player a drink. And I should preface this by saying that most of the time, dueling pianos, there can be two people that are playing, so two musicians, and sometimes it's a man and a woman, and I am pretty much always with my husband, but this time I wasn't with my husband. He was up in the cabin and he was editing a video. So I offered to buy this piano player, who was very nice, by the way, a drink after like the request hour, that kind of thing, and to have after his set, which he said he would have it after his set. I did buy him a drink. And after that, my son said to me, "Mom, I think that the piano player thinks that you're hitting on him." And it didn't occur to me that, of course, my husband was upstairs. There wasn't a female that was there as well. So I was a little bit embarrassed. Anyway, hopefully he didn't really think that. But since then, I may have changed my mind on always buying drinks. But anyway, that's my little bit of a funny, if not embarrassing story. But please let me know if you've ever bought any of the crew, or the entertainers at least, drinks. Now, if you are interested in seeing more things that crew members actually hate that passengers do, I'm going to leave a video right after this one so you can find that out. But I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know, what are some of the other polite things that cruise passengers do that they shouldn't, whether you're a crew member or you are a cruise guest yourself. Please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.